The art of self-control. Master your emotions, the Stoic way. My emotions used to run my life. Seriously. Every little setback felt like the end of the world. Every piece of criticism felt like a personal attack, and any moment of uncertainty sent a tidal wave of panic through me. My days were just a chaotic storm of reactions. An unexpected traffic jam could wreck my entire morning. A sharp word from my boss would leave me feeling sour for the rest of the day. I was living on high alert, and my mind and body were just exhausted from the constant emotional whiplash. This wasn't just stressful, it was crippling. It cost me opportunities because I was too scared of failing to even try. It damaged relationships because my reactions were so often blown out of proportion. I felt like a ship without a rudder, tossed around by the violent seas of my own feelings. This emotional chaos was draining me, and I knew, deep down, I couldn't keep living as a slave to my own feelings. But how do you break a pattern you've had your whole life? How do you step out of the storm when you are the storm? I felt trapped, and I'd started to believe this was just my personality, emotional and reactive. Finding an answer felt hopeless, like fumbling for a light switch in a pitch-black room. Then, I found an answer in a surprising place. Not in a modern self-help book or a quick motivational speech, but in the ancient philosophy of the Stoics. These thinkers, from thousands of years ago, offered a practical and revolutionary blueprint for emotional control. In this video, I'm going to share the 7 key Stoic principles that helped me finally get a handle on my emotions, rise above the chaos, and build a life of inner peace and strength. If that sounds like a journey you need to take, make sure you subscribe, because these lessons can genuinely change your life. The dichotomy of control. A. Reclaiming your power. The first and most important lesson, the one that everything else is built on, is what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. This one idea has the power to instantly reduce the anxiety and frustration you feel every day. The concept is simple but life-changing. Some things in life are up to us, and some things aren't. The great Stoic teacher Epictetus, who was born a slave and knew a thing or two about what you can and can't control, put it this way: some things are in our control, and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, in other words, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command in one word, whatever are not our own actions. Think about that for a second. What's truly yours? According to the Stoics, it's not your job, not your house, and not what other people think of you. It's not even your own body, which gets sick and grows old. The only things that are 100% yours are your choices, your judgments, and your actions. This is where all your power is. The Stoics argued that all our suffering comes from getting these two categories mixed up. We get angry in traffic because we're trying to control something that isn't our action. We get anxious before a presentation because we're trying to control how the audience will react. We feel hurt by criticism because we're trying to control our reputation in someone else's mind. The practical step here is to become a relentless sorter of your experiences. In any situation, just ask yourself, is this in my control or out of my control? If it's outside your control, like the weather, the economy, or what other people do, then your job is to practice acceptance. It is what it is. Fighting it is like screaming at the rain to stop. It's a waste of energy that only leaves you miserable. But if it is within your control, your response, your effort, your attitude, then your job is to act with reason and integrity. You can't control that it's raining, but you can control whether you bring an umbrella. You can't control a sudden market crash, but you can control how you manage your budget in response. This isn't about being passive, it's about aiming your energy with laser precision only at the things you can actually change. This shift frees you from the exhausting job of trying to manage the universe and lets you focus all that power on mastering yourself. Premeditatio malorum, the power of negative visualization. All right, this next idea might sound a little strange, especially in our culture of non-stop positivity. It's called premeditatio malorum, which basically means thinking about bad things in advance. It's the Stoic practice of actively imagining that things have gone wrong. What if you lost your job? What if you got sick? What if that big project fails? What if you lost someone you love? It sounds morbid, I know, but the Stoics didn't do this to create anxiety. They did it to destroy it. The Roman philosopher Seneca put it perfectly. What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster. When you think about worst-case scenarios ahead of time, you do two things. First, you strip them of their power to shock you. A problem you've already rehearsed in your mind is never as scary as one that blindsides you. Second, it makes you incredibly grateful for what you have right now. When you imagine life without your health, your home, or your family, you suddenly see them not as guarantees, but as precious gifts. That morning coffee you chug down without thinking becomes a small luxury. The presence of your loved ones becomes a treasure. To try this, you don't have to sit in a dark room for hours. Just take a few moments in the morning, think about the day ahead, and consider what might go wrong. Maybe your car won't start. A meeting could get cancelled. You might run into a conflict with someone. Then, just calmly think about how you'd handle it. You'd call a friend for a ride. You'd use the free time to catch up on email. You'd listen calmly and respond with reason. This isn't about attracting negativity. It's about building psychological armor. It's like a fire drill for your mind. You hope the fire never comes, but if it does, you won't panic. You'll know exactly what to do. By facing our fears in the safe space of our own minds, we build an immunity to the shock of real-world problems and learn to truly appreciate the good we have in this very moment. The view from above, shifting your perspective. Do you ever get completely consumed by a small problem? A mistake at work, an argument with a friend, an embarrassing moment. In that moment, it can feel like the center of the universe, a total catastrophe that blocks out everything else. The Stoics had a powerful mental trick for this, the view from above. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a man who dealt with war, plague, and political backstabbing, used this all the time in his personal journal, which we now call the Meditations. The exercise is a kind of imaginative meditation. Imagine yourself floating up, out of your body, above the room you're in. Look down at yourself. Now float higher, seeing your building, then your neighborhood, then your whole city as a tiny grid below. Go higher still, until you see your country, then the continents, and then the earth itself, a beautiful, silent, pale blue dot hanging in the vast, quiet blackness of space. From this cosmic perspective, where is that problem now? Where is that argument? Where is that embarrassing moment? They've completely vanished, shrunken down to their true size, insignificant. You can see the entire sweep of human history, empires rising and falling, generations being born and dying. In the face of that scale, your personal anxieties are revealed for what they are: tiny, fleeting ripples in a vast ocean. This exercise isn't meant to make you feel small or meaningless. It's meant to free you from the tyranny of your ego. It puts your problems in their proper place. That insult that's been looping in your head, that worry about what someone thinks of you, will it matter in a year or 5 years? From the perspective of a star, it doesn't even exist. Marcus Aurelius used this to remind himself that life goes on, the world keeps turning, and most of what we worry about is, in the grand scheme of things, trivial. When you feel overwhelmed, try taking this bird's-eye view. It pulls you away from the heat of the moment and brings back a sense of calm and perspective. It reminds you that you're part of something vast and ancient, and that this, too, shall pass. Cognitive reappraisal, en maneri, reframing your judgments. One of the most empowering ideas in all of Stoicism is that our emotions aren't caused by events, but by the judgments we make about them. Epictetus put it bluntly, "Men are disturbed, not by things, but by the principles and notions which they form concerning things." This is the heart of what modern psychology calls cognitive reappraisal. It's the art of changing your emotional response by changing the story you tell yourself. Imagine you get fired from your job. The event itself is neutral. It's just a fact. Your employment ended. The emotional reaction, the panic, the despair, the shame, comes from your judgment about it. This is a disaster. I'm a failure. My life is ruined. But what if you chose a different judgment? What if you told yourself, this is an opportunity to find a career I actually love. This is a chance to prove how resilient I am. This is a course correction. The event is the same, but the emotional reality is completely different. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Today I escaped from anxiety, or no, I discarded it, because it was within me, in my own perceptions, not outside." This is the ultimate form of taking ownership. It means realizing that your anger, your fear, and your sadness are not things that happen to you, but things you generate with your interpretations. When someone insults you, the harm isn't in their words. The harm is in your judgment that their words have the power to hurt you. The practice here is to become a detective of your own thoughts. When you feel a strong negative emotion rising, just pause. Don't react on autopilot. Instead, ask yourself, what's the judgment I'm making that's causing this feeling? Is that judgment really true? Is it helpful? Is there another way to look at this? That pause is where self-control is born. It's the space between the first gut reaction and your conscious response. The first reaction might be a flash of anger. Your conscious response is choosing not to let it explode into rage. By catching your judgments before they spiral, you can reframe them. You can see criticism not as an attack, but as potentially useful feedback. You can see a setback not as a failure, but as a lesson. This isn't about lying to yourself or pretending bad things are good. It's about consciously choosing the most rational and resilient perspective you can find. It's about realizing you're the author of your emotional life, and you can always choose to write a different story. Amor fati, loving your fate. This next principle, amor fati, might be the toughest, but also the most liberating of all Stoic practices. It's a Latin phrase that means a love of one's fate. This goes way beyond just putting up with what happens. It means embracing it, welcoming it, and yes, even loving it, no matter what it is. It's the belief that everything that happens, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is a necessary part of your life's journey. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was hugely influenced by this Stoic idea, said his formula for greatness was amor fati. That one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely bear what is necessary, but love it. The Stoics saw the universe as a perfectly interconnected system. Whatever happens is a result of that system. So, wishing for something to be different is like wishing the entire universe would bend to your will. It's an impossible fight. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, but do so with all your heart. For him, Every obstacle was a new path. He famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He noted that a blazing fire doesn't just burn, it makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. That's the amor fati mindset. It means seeing every challenge an illness, a financial loss, a betrayal, not as a tragedy, but as raw material. It's fuel for the fire of your character. It's a chance to practice courage, patience, and wisdom. Practicing amor fati means that when you face tough times, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And instead you say, "This is happening for me. This is my chance to be strong." It's the ultimate mental alchemy, turning pain into strength and misfortune into a new kind of opportunity. It's looking at your whole life, the wins, the heartbreaks, all of it, and saying, "I wouldn't change a thing. It was all necessary. I love it." This is not easy. It takes incredible strength and trust. But if you can get there, you become truly invincible, because nothing can hurt you when you've decided that everything that happens can serve you. The inner citadel, building unshakable resilience. When the world gets to be too much, where do you go? Some people escape to the beach or the mountains. But Marcus Aurelius pointed out, that's not the real solution. He wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. An instant's recollection, and there it is, complete tranquility." This inner sanctuary of peace and reason is what the Stoics called the inner citadel. It's a mental fortress you build inside yourself, brick by brick, every time you practice these principles. And once it's built, nothing can tear it down. External events can storm the gates, but they can never get inside. Your inner citadel is your ability to think rationally, your sense of purpose, and your self-awareness. It's the part of you that isn't touched by praise or blame, luck or failure. Seneca said a mind that isn't conquered by passion is a citadel, and that no person has a safer fortress to retreat to. Building this fortress isn't a one-and-done job, it's a lifelong project. Every time you separate what you can and can't control, you're laying another stone. Every time you reframe a negative thought, you're making the walls stronger. Every time you practice negative visualization, you're training the guards. The strength of your citadel depends on constant upkeep. It's about taking time to go inside, check on your principles, reflect, and remind yourself of what truly matters. This is why things like meditation and reflection are so important. They're the daily workouts that keep your fortress strong. When someone insults you, you retreat to your citadel and remember their opinion is outside your control. When you fail, you retreat to your citadel and see it as a lesson. When you feel anxious about the future, you retreat to your citadel and focus on what you can do right now. This isn't about hiding from the world. It's about facing the world from a position of unshakable strength. Your citadel allows you to be the calm eye of the storm. From this place of inner peace, you can handle any challenge with clarity and courage. The world will always be chaotic, but inside your inner citadel, you can always be at peace. Memento mori, SLE, the practice of journaling, living with intention. This final principle ties everything together. It's a two-part practice for making sure these ideas don't just stay ideas, but actually change how you live. The first part is the powerful Stoic reminder, memento mori. Remember, you will die. Now, this might sound even more grim than thinking of bad things, but like all Stoic tools, its goal isn't to create despair, but to create clarity and joy. As Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Knowing that our time is limited, is the ultimate cure for triviality. When you remember that your time here isn't guaranteed, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. You stop getting stuck in petty arguments, mindless distractions, and chasing status. The awareness of death clarifies your priorities like nothing else. It forces you to ask the big questions. Am I living a good life? Am I being the person I want to be? Am I spending my precious time wisely? This reminder doesn't make life dark. It makes it vibrant and precious. The second part is the tool that makes this all real: journaling. The very book we quote Marcus Aurelius from, the Meditations, was his private journal. It was where he practiced these principles and coached himself. Seneca also recommended a nightly review. He wrote about looking back over his day, examining what he said and did, hiding nothing from myself, passing nothing by. This is how you put Stoicism into practice. A journal is your personal gym for self-mastery. In the morning, you can write down potential challenges for the day, a mini premeditatio malorum. In the evening, you can reflect on the day through a Stoic lens. Where did I act with integrity? Where did I get upset by something outside my control? What judgment led to my anger or anxiety? How can I do better tomorrow? This daily habit of honest self-reflection is what turns philosophy into action. Memento mori gives you the why, the urgency, and the purpose, and journaling gives you the how, the daily, practical method. Together, they make sure you're not just learning about Stoicism, but actually living it. Conclusion. My journey from being a slave to my emotions to finding a sense of inner control has been a long one, and it's a practice I still work on every single day. The 7 lessons we've covered: understanding what you control, preparing for hardship, shifting your perspective, reframing your thoughts, loving your fate, building your inner fortress, and living with intention. These aren't quick fixes. They are the tools of a lifetime. They're the blueprint the Stoics left us for building a life of strength, resilience, and deep calm. The core message here isn't about suppressing your emotions or becoming a robot. It's about understanding them, working with them, and using your amazing human power of reason to guide them. It's about turning those destructive feelings into rational, helpful responses. It's about rising above the chaos, not by ignoring it, but by building an inner foundation so strong that the chaos can no longer touch you. You have the power to stop being a ship tossed on the waves and to become the captain of your own soul. The path is challenging, but it is the path to true freedom and a good life. The tools are here, the rest is up to you. If you found this journey into Stoic wisdom valuable, please give this video a like and share it with someone who might need to hear these timeless lessons. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into building a resilient life. And now, I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 7 principles resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and let's start a conversation. Thank you for watching.